Hi, I'm Janine, and this is Outside the Box. Today, I'm speaking with session musician, solo artist, and founder of Guitar Cloud Symposium, Scherer Batten. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. I have a little codependent
No
helper here
problem.
named.
Wait, what's your dog's name?
He gets jealous of Elvis. I got him when I was working Las Vegas for Cirque du Soleil, and I knew I was going to have a certain amount of time with no flights. And I go, what a great time to get a puppy. So Las Vegas, he had to be Elvis.
Definitely, definitely. It's
Right.
adorable. What kind of dog?
A Papillon.
Papillon. So cute.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mind. I get all kinds of special guests on the show, from kids to dogs to whoever, so it doesn't matter.
It's better the visual than the barking to get up in my lap.
That is true. That is very true. So I want to back up before we get into what's going on with the Guitar Symposium that's coming up on the 19th. I'd love to know your backstory. When did you first start playing guitar?
I was 8 years old, and it was born of jealousy because my sister had a guitar and I didn't. And I thought, oh, she gets everything. So, and my dad was really into music too.
That's
If
cool.
he was home, jazz records playing. That's the backdrop to my life, definitely. And I took lessons right away. I begged for a guitar. So the first Christmas when I was 8, I got an electric guitar, which at that time was
Whoa.
really odd for a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was probably a piece of crap, but it was the coolest thing in the world to me. The Beatles were on Ed Sullivan show, and as far as I knew, it was the same kind of guitar, although it was far from.
Right.
But it was the coolest. And I started taking lessons right away. I learned how to read and just ended up with different teachers as the family moved. Went from the Mel Bay books to the next teacher was into folk and finger style. So I got
Okay.
my right hand together with finger picking. Then I ended up with a blues guy and then a rock guy. And it was really great to have that change up of genres.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I went to Musicians Institute and just dove into every genre, both feet.
Amazing. So you never stopped.
No, um, maybe for a couple weeks at a time from jet lag. That's it. Yeah.
It's pretty funny. Where did you grow up? Are you from California?
I was born in upstate New York, near Watkins Glen, where they have the Grand Prix. Well, it used to be Grand Prix races. Now it's NASCAR. At little town, tiny, tiny little town. And when I was 9, the family moved to San Diego.
Oh,
So I've
nice.
been on the West Coast ever since. Moved to LA, and now I'm in Portland, and I'll probably end up at the North Pole at some point.
And where did your career go? Because that's pretty amazing to have that momentum since you were 8. How did you end up playing professionally?
Well, I announced to my mother when I was 12 that I wanted to be a professional musician. I was listening to music, loved it, was taking lessons and loved that. She did warn me that it's a very competitive business, but when you're 12, it doesn't mean that much because
No,
you haven't got your ass kicked yet.
right.
you know.
And who are you competing
So
with?
yeah. So I remember in my late teens I was uh, working on all kinds of tunes like Allman Brothers, Dewey Brothers, and just the
So
pop
cool.
songs that I
Yeah.
was digging at the time. And eventually, I used to get Guitar Player magazine. I would
Mhm.
spend my allowance and drive my bike down to the music shop and pick up that month's Guitar Player magazine. And there was an ad for a symposium that Musicians Institute was putting on long before it was MI. It was only a guitar school at that point,
Okay.
Guitar Institute of Technology, which is a ridiculously long amount of syllables.
Hmm.
And it was a new school at the time, and they were just trying to recruit. And so they had a weekend symposium, and I drove from San Diego to LA, and I ended up auditioning to get into the school that weekend and flunked miserably.
What? Really?
Oh, yeah, because I had been taking lessons from all these folks that were teaching me some techniques and songs,
Hmm.
but never the tools of the trade. Like I didn't know what a chord scale was.
Oh,
One of the questions they asked me was, "Can you play a G major 7?" And I go, "Yeah." And I played a G7 dominant chord. I didn't know there
oh,
was a difference.
yeah.
So they sent me back to study with this guy named Peter Sprague, who's a monster bebop player that lives in San Diego. And that really prepped me. Like every week, I had a workload of stuff to do, and I was learning Charlie Parker solos and John Coltrane and learning chord inversions. And so, 6 months really intense prep. Then I was ready to get into the school. But even when I was in, I think I was the only one that never did a gig before. I would
Wow.
just play in my bedroom at home and
Right.
imagine like the noise coming out of my amplifier was the audience going so,
And how old were you at that time?
I turned 21 when I was at the school.
Okay.
Yeah. So young, but there's a lot younger kids going through now from
Sure.
all over the world. It's such a
Yeah.
massive school.
That's amazing. I mean, so it's really you built this foundation of music theory, right?
Yeah, well, that's where, well, it started with Peter Sprague and really
Hmm.
blossomed with Musicians Institute. The curriculum was written by a jazz studio player named Howard Roberts.
Okay.
And it was an incredible curriculum where he had this planned out day by day. And minute by minute, really, we would have an hour class on a subject, followed by a 90-minute lab period, which is the time to get down what you had just learned. And we would have an egg timer. It was long before smartphones.
Yeah.
So 5 minutes, you'd work on this A7 arpeggio. And 3 minutes, you do this. And 2 minutes, you do that. And when the bell went off, you kept moving. And that would keep you focused.
Hmm.
Because if you, oh, I need another few minutes for this, you would get so behind, you just couldn't.
Sure.
So it was an incredible experience, incredible discipline. And at the end of the year, I never wanted to go to school again.
You're like, I'm done.
I was so done.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I got the skills, especially with ear training, to be able to listen to my favorite records and figure out what was on it. And I can honestly say, without having had that education, I never would have gotten the Michael Jackson gig, or certainly not the Jeff Beck gig.
Yeah.
So it was a revolutionary year in my life.
So it's like it was pretty much like a boot camp.
Indeed. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
all I did. Eat, sleep, drink, guitar,
Hmm.
nonstop. And weekends were all guitar. Yeah. No driving, no lunch break.
Where did you go from there? Like how soon after did you get that gig with Michael Jackson?
Let's see, I graduated in 79 and I got the gig in 87. So
Okay.
8 years.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when you're young how fast you think things will happen. I remember telling people at graduation, within a year, I'll have an album out. Well, it was 10 years. Things just happen and
Right.
life takes you where life is going to take you. And I started teaching, which was really valuable because it solidifies the things that you learn when you have
Hmm.
to spit it out, and you're forced to learn how to communicate because you're sitting there one on one with somebody, and if they don't understand what you're saying, you got to figure out another way to
Yes.
make them understand it.
You
Some
bet.
people are way more visual, some people are more verbal.
Hmm.
So that was really useful too. I did a lot of teaching in the early days before I got with the Michael Jackson gig, and in between, I played with different bands and got some stage time in because it's
That's good.
night and day different. You can be burning at home, jamming to whatever tracks, and when you're on stage with a live band, and the bass player is sucking all your lower frequencies away, and the cacophony of the drums, that's a whole different world.
Yeah.
That continues to be a challenge because it's different in every single environment.
Well, you got personalities, you got different talents, you got different volumes, different egos.
Yeah, I was actually very lucky in the early days. I was in a band called Pearl, Purl, which
Okay.
it's in the dictionary, and I still couldn't tell you what it means. It wasn't my band, but I was lucky enough to get in there, and I was really into fusion at the time. Larry Carlton, Lee Ritenour, Al
Oh,
Di
yeah.
Meola was big at the time, and George Benson's big live record was
Mhm.
out at that time. And I saw Pearl do an original fusion show opening for Lee Ritenour, and I go,
Mm.
I want to be in that band. And within a month, I got a call. I didn't even make any calls. I just put that energy into the universe. And I got into the band as soon as they were switching over to doing covers. So it
Amazing.
went from well, we kind of morphed. I was with them 3 or 4 years, and
Okay.
we went from playing the Police and Pat Benatar, doing
Mhm.
top 40 covers, to doing fusion in different venues. And then we did some weddings, which is the toughest gig you could do, because you have easily 3 generations of people that want to listen to different kinds of music.
True.
So you're going from jazz standards to, as the old folks leave, the music is getting a little louder and
Yeah.
people want to dance.
AC/DC.
It was a really great environment to get my stage chops in.
Amazing. Because we are in a pandemic, do you feel that music has always been your, I want to say like your savior, something that has really helped you through really challenging times?
Absolutely. Um, I really became aware of it before the pandemic, how music changes your brain chemistry.
Hmm.
It does it when you listen to it, but when you play it, your entire gray matter is engaged.
Yeah.
And it's happened so many times where I'm in a funk or just anxious about something, and I'll come in my music studio and jam for an hour, and I stand up a different person,
Yeah.
completely different.
Yeah.
So it's been very healing, and the pandemic has been a challenge for everybody, especially artists.
Right.
We're the first to go when it.
Right. No touring, nothing.
Yeah, yeah. So I spent the first 2 months just sucking my thumb, wondering how
No.
I was going to get through this, like everybody.
Yeah.
And then I came up with the idea. I had done a touring seminar 6, 7 years ago with a buddy. I went to all the Sam Ash stores in America with my motorhome, and my friend Jesse Solomon, and we did these seminars. And because there was so many things that I wanted students to know, that if when I got a Skype student and they weren't aware of certain things, I thought, how can you not know this? I must pay it forward and
Yeah.
put my knowledge into your gray matter. So this symposium that I got now is kind of 2.0 of what I started out with, because my first one was 4 hours of basically me. That's a lot to take as
Was
an
that the
audience.
one that ended up on a DVD? Because I bought it.
No,
That
that
was that True Fire? Or, I don't know. I bought
well,
something.
the True Fire. I've got 3 courses
Yeah.
on that.
Right.
That's I don't know. It must be less than an hour. I think I don't. I haven't seen them in years. But no, this was a whole live thing that just ran the gamut from certain apps to practical things about musicians traveling to
Hmm.
on and on and on. Um, so this one, I called up 3 friends that I had toured with. Vicky Genfan, great acoustic
Oh yeah.
tapper, singer-songwriter, and I had done several tours with her in Czech Republic and in America. And last year, or is it 2 years ago now? I lose track of years in a pandemic, but I toured with Neely Brosh and Gretchen Menn. Uh,
Amazing.
we did a West Coast tour, and I got to know them well enough that I knew that they would get it together.
Hmm.
They both have a really great work ethic, and Vicky as well. And it takes a lot of work to put a course together.
Oh, I
People
bet.
have no idea when you dial in on Zoom what goes on behind the scenes and how many weeks prep it took to do it. So I said, you know what? My original design was to take off of TED Talks, TED.com, those talks are people around the world that give a talk in less than 20 minutes. And if you're a rocket scientist or whatever you're into, you have to compress and refine everything into
Yeah.
bite-sized chunks
Right.
so the average person can understand it. And I said, let's each grab 6 subjects, 20 minutes each. So each of us did an hour on a Saturday, an hour on a Sunday, then it would move on to the next person, with plenty of Q&A time with students. And boy, it was a lot to get together. And now we're opening up to 30 minutes, which gives us a little more breathing
That
time.
sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just morphing and growing. It started out as the four of us, and I thought, okay, this is the four musketeers here. Um, and as soon as the second one happened, I launched last August, and the
Okay.
second one happened in October. And Neely Brosh got a gig with Danny Elfman, so she was gone, and I thought,
Okay.
okay, well, Gretchen recommended Angela Petrelli, so she
Hmm.
took her place for a few months, and now I'm just expanding.
And Dweezil, you got Dweezil Zappa.
Yeah, these. Well, let me explain how the symposium
Okay.
works because I'm
Yes.
just kind of all over the map here. It's it's a long weekend, so on the Friday night, 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific, it's an orientation, or I explain what it's about, introduce the teachers because not all the students are familiar with each teacher, and they'll talk about what we're going to teach, and then it's a Q&A to get to know who they are.
Hmm.
Um, and so the students get to know each other. We're
Good.
all in these little Brady Bunch
Right.
boxes, and it's just a very, very strange
Weird. Yeah.
thing. I mean, it's becoming more and more normal. But
Right.
so that's orientation. Then
Okay.
Saturday and Sunday is content. It starts at 9 a.m. Pacific, and we just go. There's about 5 minutes break between teachers. There's a lunch break halfway through the day, and Vicky Genfan is also into yoga and body work, so she'll do a 15-minute thing to get blood back in everybody's
Oh,
brain
good.
before we do the afternoon workshops. At the end of each day is another 1 hour Q&A with everybody, the whole group.
Mhm.
And then on the Monday is a wrap party,
Oh, fun.
which sometimes involves some champagne over at this ranch. And that has morphed also. And what it is now is the first hour is live streamed on Facebook and YouTube if my multicasting system is going to work. It seems to
Okay.
be dropping things at this moment. But so it's sponsor giveaways. I've been lucky enough to get 15 sponsors. It's amazing.
That's
So
awesome.
pretty much everybody that shows up walks away with some extra stuff, whether it's strings and straps or slides or an amp or a
Whoa.
guitar. Yeah, there's some big
Nice.
giveaways.
Nice.
The Spark amp, our presenting sponsor is Positive Grid.
Oh, yeah.
So they're giving away a Spark amp coming up this weekend.
Nice.
Um, so that takes a good 20 minutes. Now I'm starting to introduce people after that are coming up in our next symposiums. Or, I was doing the symposium every other month, this 4-day thing.
Hmm.
And then in between, I'm doing what we're calling a deep dive.
What is
And
that?
that's a single day, long day, 9 to 5,
Hmm.
where it's a single subject and four people give their take on it. Um, so the next one, wow, the last one we did in January was on Guitar Heroes. So I did Jeff Beck, Jude Gold did Eddie Van Halen. He
Eddie
was in,
Van Halen. Mm. Yeah.
yeah, it was great. And Jude has got that stuff down. It's
That's
fantastic.
awesome.
And
Quick
Gretchen,
question. Wait, excuse me.
yeah,
Quick question.
yes.
What is the level of, you know, musicianship that people can be part of this? So not beginners, should they be intermediate, advanced? Like who can be part of this?
I would say everybody can get something out of it, but if you at least know the names of the strings you've been playing a little while and know
Okay.
some basic chords,
Hmm.
that's really going to help you.
Good.
Because we move it kind of fast,
Hmm.
with a half-hour module. um, I got to rip through some stuff, and I can't be waiting for people to figure out where A on the D string is.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know if they're behind really,
Yes.
because I don't hear them while I'm teaching. Everybody is
Sure.
muted until
So
the.
they need to know the prerequisite before they better cram this week and get ready for the 19th to learn those strings.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to be a genius.
No.
I don't
No.
even know. I mean, the word intermediate could mean a million different
True.
things.
Very true.
Just don't run out and buy a guitar and then jump in.
Yes.
You know,
Exactly. And
if you've
and
never.
press on the first string and go, ow.
Yeah, calluses are helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So yeah, and the Monday night after the sponsor giveaways, I'm introducing different people that are coming up. I had Kat Dyson from Prince's band. She's
Nice.
going to be doing something with us in March on
Mhm.
being a hired gun. Pete Thorne is another one. He has
Very
a
cool.
big YouTube channel. He played
Mhm.
with Chris Cornell and Melissa Etheridge and Don Henley. So it's fun. I have this wish list of people that I want. And then I have a special guest. I've had Steve Vai came and he
Whoa.
talked for me 2 hours. It was great, just
Nice.
hanging with the students.
Yeah.
So that is shut down to the public because that's students that paid get exclusive time with these people. I
Sure.
had Andy Timmons and Scott Henderson. Steve Lukather said he'd do it in April, and Dweezil is coming up this next Monday. So it's really fun. It's just a
Awesome.
fun party hang, and
Right.
it's a real bonus at the end of all those hours of learning different techniques and styles and stuff to just let loose and go, wow.
Mhm.
You know, most people will not get this access to
Yeah.
big names like Steve Vai.
Right.
So being able to hang out, I mean, his day was just epic. He just
Right.
got into the philosophy of living, really.
Really?
And
I didn't know that.
he's deep.
I've
He's
seen him
really deep.
perform because I went to Syracuse. He performed with David Lee Roth, and
Yeah.
I was so close to the stage and my jaw was dropping. I mean,
Yeah,
whoa.
he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that you can recognize in 4 bars who it is.
Yeah.
Very distinct style.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's a real blessing. So far, nobody has said no. And it's
Why would they?
well,
A big
for
commitment?
me,
Yeah.
I'm kind of selfish with my time.
Yeah.
And at some point you have to be, or you just get scattered all over the map, and
Right.
it's just really hard to focus on what you're trying to do. I think part of the luck has been that we're in a pandemic and nobody's going anywhere.
That's right. That's right.
So, trying to lock down if it was normal times and I tried to get Steve Lukather 3 months out,
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't
Right.
know if that would happen. I might have to have a list of subs that could jump in.
Mhm.
So for now, it's working out really well.
I feel like what you're doing with this is amazing. I feel like it's the ultimate pivot at a time when we really could use this. A lot of people had to pivot during this pandemic into
Yeah.
something, and it seems like you just kept going, and this is a wonderful thing.
Well, except for that 2 months of sucking my thumb, I kept going. There's been a few times in my life that things have developed out of panic.
Mm.
Like, what the hell do I do now?
Mhm.
The next 6 months just fell through,
Right.
you know? And
Right.
that's how I do a film show where I play in sync with films that I make.
Oh,
So I have the backing tracks are embedded in the film, and I'll go out and play the melodies and solos, basically. It's a very low maintenance band because there is no band. And I've been doing that for 10 years. And that happened after I was playing with Jeff Beck. And I remember one day sitting on the couch going, now what?
now
I
what?
played with Michael Jackson, that was 10 years. And then Jeff Beck was 3 years. And now I started thinking, okay, I got to play my own music now. That's where
Mhm.
we're at.
Sure.
And just the thought of dealing with humans just sucks. Just sucks. I'd had plenty of experience of playing with bands, and you always got the whiners, and when you're on the road it's 10 times worse, and
Right.
you can lose money so fast if things don't work out and people don't show up and it's not advertised properly.
Right.
So I thought there's got to be a way that I can start out by touring alone.
Mhm.
And I started thinking, well, Khaki King is going around doing all this acoustic stuff. I don't play that much acoustic guitar. Adrian Legg, the same. And I don't sing. And I've done plenty of clinics where I play with tracks, but that's not a show.
Mhm.
So I came up with the idea of films um, because I'm not that entertaining to watch. I mean, guitar nerds will watch your hands and go, oh, look, now you're in the eighth position.
Right. He's
Like,
tapping.
but for people that are not total guitar nerds, it can get boring watching one person. So I came up with the film idea and put out ads for a year and a half to get people to make films for a new record that I had, which was mostly stuff I wrote when I was with Jeff Beck. And, stuff that's not on his record became my record called Whatever. And at the end of a year and a half, I only had 4 films because
Oh.
creative people can be real flaky.
Mm.
So the guy that turned in the first film showed me how to make films, and I became completely obsessed. And now I have over 3 hours of material I could do, and it's just been great. I mean, it's and I do miss humans. I like the balance of playing with a band and playing alone. It's a
Right.
completely different thing. When I'm playing alone, I know the band's not going to forget parts
Hmm.
because it's embedded. The only thing that can happen is your computer blows up.
Yeah.
So I take 2 projectors and 2 computers for that show. Um, and then, the band thing, obviously, there's interaction between people.
Sure.
It's a good balance.
If you could play with anyone right now, who would it be?
You know, that's a common question. And at one time, I said Jeff Beck, and then that happened. So, Peter Gabriel is somebody I've always admired.
Yeah.
It's kind of a strange choice because it's not a real guitar-y band; it's a parts band.
Sure.
But I mean, so was Michael Jackson. Really,
Yeah.
it was. Yeah, I got my solo time. I got 16 bars in 2.5 hours to play "Beat It,"
Hmm.
and maybe some other solos. But it's a whole. That's another thing too, to just groove, just be part of the team.
Definitely.
So I'm sure I could learn a lot from that. Brad Paisley
Mm.
is somebody I really admire, and
Hmm.
that's a vocabulary. Country is something so foreign to me that it's really intriguing.
Yeah.
So other than that, I don't know. I'll probably think of somebody as soon as we hang up.
How did you connect with Dweezil Zappa?
Um, it actually goes back many years. I had a student that was a friend of his when I lived in LA, and I used to put these things on my answering machine, on my cassette answering machine, that I would say, okay, name that solo, and I would play a solo. And I did a Van Halen thing, and my student had Dweezil listen to it.
Uh,
So that was the first connection. And
okay.
somehow, fast forward, I ended up at his house because he was doing a record where he wanted 100 guitar players on it.
Whoa.
And so I came over and listened to a bunch of tracks. It was actually pretty magical. The Zappa's known for being weird, and there was
Hmm.
nothing normal about that day.
Yeah.
Long story, but he played a bunch of stuff for me, and I got to see the studio where Frank worked. This was after Frank passed.
Hmm.
The synclavier and all of his guitars. It was pretty cool.
Amazing.
Had dinner with Gail, and Moon wasn't there, but Diva was,
And
and
isn't it
yeah.
Amit Zappa? I met them at Tower Records in Boston years ago when they came out with Shampoo Horn.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't know their music, but I went and I was like, this is kind of odd, but I like it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it has to be odd. The
Yeah.
DNA.
Right.
Yeah. So I met him a couple times since then, and how I ended up with his number, I can't even tell you. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
it
great.
happened, and he said yes. He was actually. We were on a Zoom call a few months ago. He's involved in this website development thing called Reward Music. That's supposed to be next level Patreon.
Oh,
So fans go to your site and they can be at different tiers, um, and buy, like, if you got, well, Dweezil probably has 10 or 20 albums out, and people can make their own playlists and buy them as chunks like that. And the more stuff that you buy, the more involved you are, the cheaper stuff becomes.
oh, okay.
So he was walking us, a few people through that. And while he was there, I go, hey, I got this thing coming up. And he was very kind and said, yeah, I'll be there.
Awesome. I wanted to ask you, this show is outside the box. Any advice you give people that are struggling, musicians? They were stuck in their thumb for maybe longer than 2 months. They're looking to kind of shift things up. They're stuck.
Oh, come to the symposium. This will shake you up.
Here you go.
I mean, you know what? One of the things about the symposium, I keep saying it's a guitar smorgasbord, because I don't have a set curriculum like you must learn this and then you learn this and then it's different every time. And I tell teachers to teach what they're passionate about. So one time you might get slide guitar and gypsy jazz and intervallic playing and tapping. Daniele Guittardo is one of the people that's joined us the last couple of months, and he's
He's
got this
amazing.
beautiful chordal tapping
Oh,
technique and
yeah.
amazing sweep picking. So he does that.
Yeah.
So you're definitely going to walk away with stuff that you've never done before.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean that's I tell people the ultimate goal is inspiration. If people walk away inspired, that's the ultimate currency for any artist is just to be fired up,
Yes.
and this will do that for sure.
Yeah.
Um, Other than that, I do some one-on-one teaching. I don't love it. It just sucks the life out of me. I I mean, I like it when I see people improving. I've had this one
Sure.
for a couple of years that in the beginning he had a hard time switching from chord to chord, and now he can play these jazz charts. It's really encouraging when people stick with it like that.
Yeah.
But I would say for people early on, having a one-to-one teacher is really valuable.
Hmm.
It's Zoom is a little challenging. I have one view, and when people aren't getting something like playing these harp harmonics and it's
Yes.
not happening, I can't really tell what the problem is.
Sure.
So, in person is ideal,
Yes.
really,
Yeah.
or having a helmet camera. I actually do that
You
sometimes.
do?
I have these
Like a
great
GoPro?
Stage Ninja. I use the iPhone.
Okay.
Stage Ninja has these smartphone clamps.
Okay.
And so you can clamp this on your headstock and get a view down the neck,
Hmm.
or actually I haven't tried, I think it's
Oh, so you could see what they're doing.
well, I send them videos
Yeah.
of actually I've done it with one hand where I'm holding the smartphone like this and I'm picking. I go, look how my pick looks when I'm doing this.
Hmm.
you know so I've sent two or three
Yeah.
angles. So
That's
if I
cool.
can't, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's amazing.
I was thinking when I taught, I used to teach a lot. And when I taught years ago, it was before smartphones. And now that you got smartphones, I don't have to spend half the lesson writing things out. I just go, break out
Right.
your camera. Here's what I just did. And I'll take
Yeah.
it home and learn it. and so, yeah, it's changed everything, the digital age. This digital
Amazing.
age.
Oh, it's crazy. But it's I have to say, like I'll get on something Songster, you know
Yeah.
Songster? Okay. And I'll try to work on a song, then I'll go on YouTube and I'll look for the artist that's teaching the song. And it's to me, it's a great way to spend my time as opposed to just vegging in front of the TV.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Actually, I'm not familiar with Songster. I'm going to write that down.
It's SONGSTERR.
Oh, okay.
It's tablature.
Okay.
Um, but it's a good starting point. I mean, I've learned some Led Zeppelin songs because I saw Gretchen Menn perform with Zepparella,
Okay.
and I know she's married to Danielle,
Yeah.
and they are both wildly talented.
Yeah.
So, but it's great. Music is just, as you know, it's a great thing to have in your repertoire of life skills. You know.
Yeah, and it's been proven that it improves your brain function in other
Yeah, I
areas.
believe it.
So it's the fact that they took it out of schools is just
It's ridiculous.
yeah.
We need it for mental health,
Oh,
right?
I can attest to that.
Yeah.
I would have spent so much money in therapy bills if I didn't have a guitar.
Yeah.
And I honestly, since the pandemic, I've really thought about that because so many people, it's easy to be in your own bubble and go, God, I'm suffering. It's not the normal world, but so many people are suffering so much more,
Right. Yeah.
and don't have music to go to.
I know. It's terrible.
Suicides are up. Oh
Yep.
God,
We
it's
no, I was saying to
horrifying.
people how we were in a mental health crisis before this. Now we're in a mental health pandemic.
Uh,
And especially the younger generation that's missing so many milestones, so many things. So, I mean, even if somebody can go to a pawn shop, a Salvation Army, grab a used instrument, go to something online, find somebody selling something for cheap, you know. But
Well, a lot of people are doing that, and Sweetwater.com is selling 1,000 guitars every day.
whoa.
Yeah, in fact, Steve Vai, he has his own model of Ibanez guitar, and he said he got a check during the pandemic, and it just blew his mind. It was the biggest check he's ever gotten.
I really do like his guitars. I wish I could afford one. They are the
Yeah.
coolest.
Well, I'll tell you what, all these people that are buying 1,000 guitars a day, you just wait a year.
Oh, that's true.
There's going to be a certain percent that go, oh, God, I haven't picked this up, or it's
That's
collecting
true.
dust. Reverb.com is where you get the used ones.
Where? Oh,
Reverb.com.
yeah, reverb.com. Yeah. I got my first guitar at 10. Then I had a fire. I got another one in the music district in New York. I was telling a story to someone how I took a train from Stanford to New York, jumped in a cab. I was 12, had some monies tucked in my shoe, got dropped off, went to Manny's Music and got a guitar, acoustic, got an electric guitar at 14, but I wasn't as consistent. And I feel like, I don't know how old your students are, but I feel like there's no age limit. Like it's never too late to pick up
No,
guitar.
in fact, there's a lot of people that were really into music in their teens, and then they got a job and did the family thing for decades, and they retire. And
Hmm.
they're coming back to it. It's
That's
it's a great
awesome.
time, when the pressure's off, the kids are off on their own.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. That's cool. Anything else like people know about the Guitar Symposium coming up?
I just want to go through the amazing sponsors that we have, because when this first started, I thought, oh God, in a pandemic, who the hell is going to want to sponsor a new startup,
Right.
right?
Right.
Well, Positive Grid has been an incredible sponsor, the presenting sponsor. Sweetwater.com every time is giving away a $100 gift certificate plus a bunch of really cool design T-shirts, and
Cool.
they're high quality shirts, not the cheapest crap ever. They're
Right.
really interesting designs and really soft materials.
Cool.
Fishman, I've been with them using their triple play wireless MIDI system and their Fluence pickups, and they're giving away clip-on tuners for
Cool.
students. Audix is a mic I discovered a couple years ago. I use the i5, and they're giving one away, and they're also giving away a thing called a cab grabber that allows you to just this device grabs on to your speaker cab and holds the mic to it, so you don't have to have an extra stand to trip over.
Nice.
I showed you the Stage Ninja clamps before. They're
Mhm.
giving away clamps. The G7th Capo Company has given away several different colors of capos. Luna Guitars has given away a guitar every time. This time
Amazing.
I have a Gypsy Zebra design, very interesting looking guitar. The Transcribe, it's actually the Seventh String Company has an app called Transcribe that I talk about that I think every musician should own. It's a slow downer and so much more. I learn every song I learn is with that app. They're giving away 5 codes to students. Cordial Cables has been with us for several months. Really high end copper core cables. Locket guitar straps, something I use all the time that keeps your guitar safe without any extra hardware. It has a spring-loaded lock on it.
Okay.
Tonewood is giving away an amp that's an acoustic guitar amp that attaches magnetically to the guitar. It's a really
Oh,
strange new technology.
yeah.
So you don't have to plug in. You could be anywhere. You could be at the beach and get effects like
Amazing.
delay, reverb, auto wah. It's just
Whoa.
crazy. Guitar Playback is David Walleman's channel or website, and he's going to be teaching with us this weekend coming up. And he's giving away, every student gets a folder full of high-res backing tracks to jam to. The Tetrix company makes gobos for recording and rehearsal. Um, Big supporter from the jump. And Blue Guitar makes the amp one that I've been using since the very first prototype. They have some really cool t-shirts are given away. And last but not least is the True Fire company that we
Oh,
talked about earlier, that
mhm.
Vicki and I both have courses with them.
Yeah.
And they're giving away a 90-day free access, all access pass to all students.
Amazing.
So that's a hell of a lot
That's
that
a
people
lot.
get. Yeah. So head over to guitarcloudsymposium.com and
Okay.
have a look. You can hear samples of all the teachers that are going to play. You can download a schedule, and we fire up this Friday. And
Awesome.
yeah, there's something every month. And we're just going to keep going and going and going. And the ideas are always churning for what can we do next? Now this would be fun.
Amazing. And I'll put this up on my show blog as well. If people want to reach out to you, do you have, basically contacts on social media or where?
Yeah, you can hit contact in
Okay.
guitarcloudsymposium.com. I also have jenniferbatten.com, and I get the mail that people send through there. That's
Okay.
the best option. And I'm on social media. I'm everywhere. That's
Fantastic.
what, somebody said, I want to talk to you on WhatsApp, and I go, I refuse. I, one more place where I have to guess where that message was that I want to find.
No way.
Not going to happen. No.
No, no. Well, this has been great, Jennifer. I want to thank you so much for chatting with me. And let's keep in touch. So, whatever else you have going on next in symposium,
All
we'll,
right. Sounds like a plan. Thanks for having me.
cool. All right.